Welcome back, and in today's lesson, we are going to talk about visual hierarchy, or what I like to call visual direction. Every site controls attention, whether on purpose or by accident. Our brains notice big shapes, bright contrasts, and clear spacing. Designers use those tendencies to guide us. If you ignore them, visitors wander or will simply feel lost. When you use them well, though, visitors will feel comfortable and curious. That's the difference between a random template and an award-winning experience. Let's see this idea in action. Open vanholtz.co in your browser. This is the site for a web development studio that was recognized by awards for its refined interactive design. As soon as it loads, don't scroll yet. Stay on the hero section so we can study how it guides your eye. Look at the screen for a moment. Where does your eye go first? It probably jumps right to the huge black words stacked on the right side. Those are names of projects like Studio Mega and the Brigade. They dominate the page because they are oversized and set in a heavy weight. Size is the simplest way to create hierarchy. Bigger elements grab our attention first. Notice the contrast between them. Those big names are black. The background is a deep blue-purple, and there's plenty of empty space around them. High contrast between text and background makes elements pop. The left side of the screen is mostly empty. Down near the bottom left, you'll see the studio's name, Van Holtz Co. I accidentally clicked it. I'm going to go back. In smaller white letters. Because it's smaller and lighter, you notice it after the big names, and that's hierarchy at work. Each big word also has space above and below it, so you see them as separate items rather than one big block of text. That breathing room right there helps you process the list just a single name at a time. Now imagine if the words were jammed together without space. It would feel cluttered and your eyes would jump around, right? Now look at the bottom left again. Below the small studio name is a line that says Studio of Eric Van Holtz, web developer, Portland, Oregon. It's in an even lighter weight. This tells you it's a little bit less important. Hierarchy isn't just about making things big, it's about creating levels. Primary information is big and bold. Secondary information is medium. Tertiary details are small. Designers often stick to a few sizes to maintain clarity. Now, imagine for a moment that this hero section used the same size and color for everything. If the project names, the studio name, and the tagline were all the same weight and placed close together, nothing would stand out. You wouldn't even know where to begin. And that's what makes a design feel amateur. By intentionally varying size, color, and spacing, the designer tells your eye exactly what to read first, second, and third. Now, before we move on, notice the small navigation list on the left edge of the screen, right here. It's numbered 01 for about, 02 for journal, and so on across here. These numbers aren't random, they're buttons. On this page, they either scroll you to a section or take you to another page. And if you're following along, we're going to click on 01, About. Now, did you see the fluid movement? That keeps your attention on the transition instead of jolting you. Once the next section appears, stop and look before you continue. You're now in the About section. Your eye is drawn immediately to a sentence on the left that reads, specializing in refined digital web experiences with a focus on animated, responsive, and interactive content. It's larger and bolder than the rest of the text, so it stands out as the main message. Underneath this sentence are two smaller sentences that explain who the studio works with and how they approach development. Because they're smaller, you naturally read them after the main line, and that's deliberate use of scale. Now on the right side, there's a column divided into small blocks with headings like availability, services, and awards. Each heading is slightly larger and bolder than the items under it. Under services here, the individual services like technical direction, front-end development, craft CMS solutions, development consulting are smaller and indented. This creates a clear hierarchy within a small area. You always know which text is a heading and which text is a list. Now pause for a moment and compare the sizes of the elements. The main statement on the left is the largest. The subheadings on the right are medium, and the list items and descriptive lines are the smallest. The designer uses only a few sizes and leaves plenty of space around each group so the order of information is obvious. The bright white text stands out against the blue-purple background, and the faded names from the hero, right, recede into the back. Even the two-column layout guides your eye from left to right, then down. Small choices in size, spacing, and contrast make the hierarchy clear without being flashy. Now, scroll a little bit further down and you'll see the services and awards list continue, right? The pattern stays consistent. Larger headings, smaller supporting text, and generous spacing. Now, so far, we've seen how hierarchy works within a singular page. Let's see how the same ideas apply when you move to a different page. Look back to the navigation list here. This time, click on Journal. See, it doesn't scroll, it loads a new page. You'll know you've switched pages because the URL in your browser changes to vanholtz.co/journal. The screen will reset to a new layout with a whiter background. As soon as the journal page loads, you're greeted by a photograph on the left that fills most of its column, and then beside the image in big black letters is the word collaboration. Above that word is a small date, June 17th, 2018, and below it, a tiny link that says read more, right? The hierarchy is obvious. The photograph grabs your eye first because it occupies so much space and has high contrast against the pale background. Your eye then lands on the bold headline, then on the small date and the call to action. Nothing competes for attention because everything has its own place and its own size. Now, scroll slowly past this first article preview. Don't rush. And as you move down, notice the generous space between articles. That empty area acts as a visual pause. It lets your mind reset before the next piece of content. Cheap blogs often stack posts right on top of each other. Here, the space is deliberate. The next article uses a different layout, but the exact same hierarchy. On the left side of the page is a portrait of a man. On the right side in large black letters is the title, The 1 Year Plan. Above the title, again, is the date, June 13th, 2018, in a much smaller font. Now below the title is a small read more link. Even though the composition has changed, your eye still goes to the biggest element first. The portrait, then to the headline, then to the date, and then the link. The designer repeats the same pattern of sizes, contrasts, and spacing so that you never feel lost. You'll notice how each article preview follows this rhythm. A big image or illustration anchors the section, a bold headline sits near the image, and a small date and tiny call to action sit nearby. There's always plenty of space around each post. This consistency teaches you how to read the page. You can skim the headlines quickly because they stand out. You know where to find the date if you care. The hierarchy does the work for you. Think about what would happen if this journal page treated everything the same. The photos, the headlines, the dates, and links were all the same size and color. The page would feel like a wall of content. You wouldn't know which post to look at first. The deliberate choices about size, contrast, and layout prevent that. Hierarchy isn't technical. You don't need fancy tools to create it. It comes down to simple choices. Make important things big and bold. Use contrast to separate foreground from background. Add spacing so the eyes can rest. And align elements along a predictable pattern. When you stick to a couple of sizes, choose a few colors with high and low contrast and leave plenty of white space. Your design automatically feels polished. The Van Holtz Co site shows how these principles work together across multiple pages and sections. The homepage opens with a giant block of names on a colored background and a small white logo beneath. Clicking 01 fades you down to a section where headline, supporting statements, and lists are clearly organized by size and spacing. Clicking 02 Journal loads a separate page where big images and bold headlines lead the way. Throughout, the same tools like size, contrast, spacing, and layout guide your eye. Cheap sites might use big headings, but then clutter the space or compete for attention. Premium sites, on the other hand, like this one, guide you gently so you always know where to look next. So here's the big takeaway for today. Hierarchy controls perception, By deliberately choosing sizes, contrasts, spacing, and layout, you guide the visitor's eye in the order that you want. If you neglect hierarchy, people simply feel lost. If you use it wisely, they feel comfortable and engaged. This isn't about copying a style though. It's about understanding how people see and then designing with that in mind. When you work on your own projects, start by deciding what matters most. Make that element the largest and most prominent on the page. Use strong contrast between it and its surroundings. Then you can decide on secondary and tertiary pieces of information and assign them smaller sizes and lighter colors. Put space around everything so each group stands out on its own. Align your content along a simple flow, like a Z or a vertical column or break. With a little practice, this will become second to nature. You'll find yourself guiding users through your pages just like the professionals. This wraps up our lesson on visual hierarchy. You've seen how a real site uses size, spacing, contrast, layout, and even navigation buttons to lead you through its content. Keep these principles in mind as you design your own pages. When you control the visual direction, you control how people feel about your work. And that's how you move from making cheap-looking pages to building high-end, award-level experiences. That's all for today. I'll see you on the next one.